Should farmers continue to use human waste or Humanure to fertilize their fields?
A Luther woman and a state lawmaker are raising concerns, saying it's actually bad for people, animals, and the environment. Fox 25's Tom Ferguson joins us live from the Capitol with a closer look. So, Tom, are there any efforts underway to address this at a state level?
Adam and Wendy, two bills about this didn't get a committee hearing in time for yesterday's deadline. But Shawnee Republican Shane Jett says he's hopeful they will be able to come back in the future. Scattered among Oklahoma's red dirt fields, you'll find some brown mixed in around Choctaw and Jones. Those are biosolids, also called sewage sludge. What you flush down the toilet can end up on a farm fertilizing crops. Downwind from these fields, you'll get hit with a stench that stinks to high heaven.
Think about what you flushed today, and that's ending up on your plate. One way or the other, your Drano, your Clorox bleach.
Sandra Trewick has a farm in Luther. She moved out to the country for the fresh air, but it wasn't as fresh as she hoped. She's been raising the alarm about biosolids for years and was instrumental in getting Luther to ban use there in 2020. While the material is treated, Trewick and Jett both say it still doesn't pass the smell test.
So we know there are cattle that's dying. We know there are dogs that have died because of this, because it doesn't just sit in the land and just sit there. It runs off. It goes into your water stream. It goes downstream. And so it gets tracked through with animals.
Jett's bills call for warning labels so farmers know about what he described as the potential harm biosolids can bring. His legislation would also limit where they're used, map usage locations, and have officials conduct testing.
Until our legislators start standing up for farmers and ranchers, nothing's going to change.
What we're trying to do is just shine some light on it, make sure that people are fully aware, and then that the farmers and ranchers can make informed decisions about what they're applying to the land and how it's actually impacting the environment.
In February, the Environmental Protection Agency published new guidance around the use and disposal of biosolids. Reports from Fort Worth, Texas to Bristol, Tennessee have raised questions about biosolids and so-called forever chemicals and their impact on the surrounding area and those who live there.
What we're doing is third world backward.
And we're also learning tonight that Trewick says farmers are being lied to about this material, being led to believe it's a lot safer than it actually is. And we're also hearing that the EPA says the situation can vary, but around 700 different pollutants have been found in the biosolids. Live at the Capitol, Tom Ferguson, Fox 25 News.
Tom, thank you. Now, we first started reporting on this issue a few years ago after Oklahomans expressed concerns about a local sewer plant dumping treated human waste on farmlands in Edmond. In 2019, an odor complaint was made to the Department of Environmental Quality over a location in Edmond off 164th Street. Residents told us they were concerned about the smell as well as contamination into a nearby creek and its water wells.
There's sludge, which is basically just the hardened part of sewage, human waste, and they liquefy it. They put it in these trailers, and then they bring it out here.
The director of Water Resources says to keep it out of nearby creeks, crews flag off the field and have a required setback from any water sources. The sludge is injected into the ground about 8 to 12 inches under the surface.
As part of offloading the semis, we can get some on the ground, and they do incorporate that back into the ground. It is required that we have it incorporated within 24 hours.
According to Edmond Water Resources, before the sludge is dumped, a DEQ-approved lab must test and approve the sludge to be sure it's safe.
A nonprofit looking to ban biosolids from being spread on farmlands, Mission 503, wants to put an end to the use of sewage sludge in soil across Oklahoma and the entire country. The nonprofit going after the federal 503 rule that allows the mass distribution of sewage sludge onto America's farmland. We spoke with the founder of Mission 503 last year.
Whatever kind of toxin that goes in the city sewage system goes into biosolids. Those biosolids get disposed on farmland across our nation. And just because it meets the federal rule does not make it safe.
Mission 503 claims there are hundreds of harmful pollutants in biosolids linked to illness. You can find more information on mission503.org.
Biosolids can contain PFAS, a set of toxic chemicals which have been connected to cancer and other health problems. The Environmental Council of the state says the chemicals can enter wastewater treatment plants from a variety of sources, resulting in biosolids that contain PFAS. Those chemicals can then be absorbed into the soil, contaminating wildlife, livestock, and agriculture. A 2022 report from the Environmental Working Group shows just how big this problem could be.
5% of all crop fields could be using sewage sludge as fertilizer. And so if PFAS in biosolids is as ubiquitous as it appears, forever chemicals could be contaminating nearly 20 million acres of U.S. cropland. There are some states where they're requiring testing of biosolids for PFAS specifically, and there are other states that are on the verge of banning it altogether. But I think the question is really, why is it a state's issue at all at this point? Because this affects everyone, and it doesn't stop at the borders. There are no limits on that kind of contamination, at the national level at least. That's the ultimate problem.
The EPA is working on setting federal standards when it comes to PFAS in biosolids. In the meantime, Maine has taken action as the only state to ban land application of biosolids. Other states have regulations, but they all still allow the application of sewage sludge in certain locations and situations. 23 states allow the use of biosolids on agricultural feedstock. 17 states allow it on residential and commercial land, and 13 states, including Oklahoma, allow it on food crops.
Biosolids are regulated by the EPA and individual states. The EPA required to review sewage sludge regulations every 2 years to identify any additional pollutants that could occur in biosolids and then set regulations if there's significant evidence they may harm human health or the environment. Reports are published every 2 years with data that may be used to conduct risk assessments on pollutants found in biosolids. The last report, published in December of 2022, breaking down the data from 2020 to 2021. Now, Public Employees for Environmental Responsibility accuses the EPA of neglecting its legal obligation to regulate PFAS in biosolid fertilizers. The organization filed a 60-day notice of intent to sue last month. According to the notice, there are at least 18 PFAS present in biosolids that the agency failed to list in its latest report. The notice also claims that at least 12 PFAS that the EPA has listed in recent years have enough scientific information to require regulation.
Oklahoma does have some rules when it comes to biosolids that go beyond the federal regulations. For example, Oklahoma does not allow the surface disposal of biosolids. And to qualify for land application in Oklahoma, biosolids must meet several requirements, including containing only a certain amount of heavy metals. It also can't be applied on some types of soil or on land that's on a big slope.
Research has been conducted in Oklahoma on the application of sewage sludge. The Soil Systems Journal published a study in 2022 taking a look at the impact of repeated use of biosolids on Oklahoma's soil. Researchers analyzed soils from farm fields near Oklahoma City, and according to the study, the soils changed by biosolids had higher pH levels and greater concentrations of organic carbon, nitrogen, sulfur, phosphorus, and calcium. Researchers say the phosphorus concentrations average at least 10 times the recommended upper limit for agricultural soils. The study says that this has created long-term source of slow-release phosphorus that could contribute to an excessive richness of nutrients in bodies of water. This is because of runoff from the land, which causes some dense growth of plant life, causes animals to die from potential lack of oxygen. Researchers also believe it can cause groundwater contamination.
Mission 503 also conducted a study for the town of Jones last year. Included in the 14-page report was a breakdown of what is found in biosolids. Take a look at this list. They found everything from metals to non-metals, parasites, viruses, and even flame retardants. According to Mission 503, only 9 of these pollutants, including mercury, nickel, and copper, and 1 fecal indicator, are regulated by the 503 rule in land applied Class B biosolids. You can see on this chart, they also detailed various health impacts that some of these compounds and pollutants can have. And that was your big story breakdown tonight. You can learn more about Humanure on OKCFox.com.
And if you missed any part of the big story breakdown, you'll find it all on our YouTube channel. Just scan the QR code on your screen or search OKC Fox.